Hello there.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. We're back after a bit of a hiatus, a month away, and we're excited to be back tonight talking about the one and only the Newton Boys on the beginning of our Punching Brothers Marathon.
Punching Brothers Marathon, 2 months. Actually, the Punching Brothers is 1 month. Then we have a month of brothers who care about each other.
Yeah, Touching Brothers. Punching Brothers, then Touching Brothers. I'm Tony. This is Matthew. We're brothers, and welcome.
We'll be back to talk about the movie right after this.
Let's hit it.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win and Matthew should win and Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime. The Arkin brothers talk about movies.
And the ladies, IDA, yo!
You know, I'm never going to get tired of that sequence, except for maybe that last moment.
No, I won't get tired of that part. That's the part to wait for. Hey, man,
How
nice to see you. I didn't like not doing this for a month. I really didn't like it.
It was kind of rough. It was rough not being here.
You know who else didn't like it?
Who? Mom.
Mom didn't like it. Mom was not happy.
Mom was not. We're sorry, Mom.
Mom, you're probably watching right now, and if you are, I hope that you're thrilled and have and aren't disappointed already.
Yeah, we apologize.
We don't have a better show for you, but we're going to do our best.
We're going to do our best, but our best might not be very good enough today. I'm all verklempt.
Are you?
I actually lost track of time. We were busy today at the bottling plant. Words I thought would never come out of my mouth. And then we went down to the pool for some hot tub and swim and company meeting stuff. And I kept thinking, oh, I got plenty of time. And then I said, oh my God, the show starts in 20 minutes.
That's what happens when you start schwitzing in the hot tub and you're relaxing and yeah.
Which I haven't been doing a lot of the past month. The past month has been crazy. Well, you
don't have to tell me, but you could tell the audience, you have something happening. That's really happening.
What's really happening is that this week we have actually launched Batch 22, this new American aquavit that we've been working on for 2.5 years. We won the platinum medal at the LA Spirits Awards, best in class, and our store is live now. You can go to drinkbatch22.com and actually buy some of our bottles.
They'll send it to you in the mail. They'll just ship it to you.
30 states plus the District of Columbia. And
I didn't know that was legal to ship that kind of thing around.
It is direct to consumer in 30 states plus the District of Columbia. People can go there and buy it now. It's crazy.
That's good.
Very good.
We should have a list of those states, because we might have a couple listeners who might be in a state that they could actually do it.
I could put a list of the states in the comments.
Yeah, maybe so.
Or I think actually if they go to our website and they're in one of the states that doesn't, they put in their address and they'll get a
right. The operating system just starts to melt.
Yeah. It's terrible. But so that's been very exciting. And you had a good month. No?
It was fine. It was good. It was a month. I didn't launch a multi-billion-dollar liquor business or sell,
It's not a multi-billion-dollar liquor business yet. You know how you'll be able to tell when it's a multi-billion-dollar liquor business?
I'm going to get some plane tickets to go somewhere.
You're going to get plane tickets to go somewhere, and I'll be doing this show from my studio.
Mm-hmm. And you might have a camera that doesn't go ooh, 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 every 5 seconds.
Is my camera going? Woo?
It is doing some interesting things. Yeah.
It loses track of me. That might be me. That might be me that's going in and out of focus.
It could be. Yeah. That's that hot tub action you had before the show.
I don't think that's bothering the people who are listening on Spotify, though. I think they'll be okay.
They'll be fine. Let's just say there was some heavy news today. We lost a great actor. To Jimmy Caan.
Yeah, to Jimmy Caan. We
who
have
both Matthew and I have fond memories of having met.
stories. You have stories? I have some
Well,
stories.
yeah, we have some stories, I guess. I mean, the big story is that, and I think we may have mentioned this on the show, but when Pop and Jimmy Caan worked together on the movie Freebie and the Bean back in the 70s, they were friendly and they got along well, and James Caan bought Dad a dog, bought our father a dog, bought the family a dog, a puppy, which is a very heavy thing to do. You know, that's like, you don't really just do that, but he
No.
did that. He was that kind of guy. And that dog we named James after Mr. Caan, and that was the dog I grew up with. He was my dog growing up, and kind of yours too. I mean,
Yeah,
he was our
great
guy.
dog.
So we have a big connection to James Caan there. You have stories that you were more adult when you would probably went to some wrestling shows with him or went to a San Francisco bar or two.
Have you ever heard of the story of my bar mitzvah?
No, I didn't know that you were Jewish. I'm confused. What?
Well, here's the story of my bar mitzvah. While they were shooting Freebie and the Bean, I was out there. I was at boarding school at the time, but I was there for 3 weeks over the spring break in San Francisco and hanging out on the set every day because there was amazing stuff going on. Watching, stunts and fights and
Sure
shootouts.
thing. Oh yeah,
Great set to be hanging out on.
car crashes also.
And James Caan, he was Sonny Corleone. I'd just seen that. And he was the kind of guy he was really fun. So he bought me a pair of boxing gloves and he gave me some boxing lessons, which if anybody knows me, they'll just laugh and ridicule me about that.
You really took to that.
Yeah. And then I had my 13th birthday during that period out there in San Francisco. And when Jimmy found out it was my birthday, he says to Dad, he says, "Hey, can I take him to lunch to celebrate his birthday?" And Dad's like, "Sure." So Jimmy, I get in the car with Jimmy and his driver. And do you know where we went to lunch?
I would know. I don't
This
know.
is why I call it my bar mitzvah. Today I am a man.
Wait.
He took me to the San Francisco Playboy Club.
That's right.
Is not as bad as it sounds. I mean, it's worse than it sounds in some ways because the Playboy Club, these days, cancel culture, get rid of all that horrible stuff. But it's not a strip club. There was nothing like that. It was just a club, a lunch club. It was a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
But the waitresses are dressed in the bunny costumes with the ears and the little.
Oh, okay. So
but there's no nudity. There's no stripping. There's nothing.
Well, not in the front room.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to. Yeah, that's actually footage from me
That's
and
your
Jimmy.
bar mitzvah.
Yeah, it's my bar mitzvah.
That's your bar mitzvah.
So that is a story that my whole life I've been
Amazing.
like, oh my gosh,
amazing.
And then Adam posted a great story today on Facebook. Did you see that story? That Adam
I did
posted?
not.
It was one I did not know. But it took place on the day where they were shooting the scene at the end of one of the car chases, where Dad and Jimmy are chasing the bad guys, and they get to a rail yard, and a train is coming down the line, and then going between two buildings, and the bad guys squeeze right in front of that train before there's no way to get through, and they Dad and Jimmy screech to a halt, and Jimmy's driving, and Dad's like, "Oh, okay, they're gone. We lost them." And Jimmy's going, "Son of a bitch, son of a bitch," and he starts backing the car up. You know this, but I'm describing it for the viewers.
Right.
He starts backing the car up, and there are workers loading boxes onto a loading ramp for the train. And Jimmy looks down the line and sees that there's a flatbed car coming between two box cars. And Dad sees him and he's going, no. They're off. They're having lunch somewhere. They're in Costa Rica or whatever. And Jimmy just keeps going, son of a bitch, and backs the car up and then floors it and goes up that ramp and leaps the moving train over the flatbed car between the two boxes. It's a great stunt. And so Adam's there on set that day, and Dad and Jimmy are there, and the stunt people, all the people are trying to, and everybody's nervous. Everybody's really nervous. It's a dangerous stunt. And Jimmy starts saying, I'll do it. These guys, I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do it. If Alan will do it. If Alan will do it with me, I'll do it. And he keeps saying this. And Dad's like, well, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. And finally he gets Jimmy alone. And he says, are you serious? Are you actually that confident that you can do this stunt? This is crazy. It's so dangerous. And Jimmy says, no, I'm that confident that you won't do it with me.
I love it.
I
love it.
Really spectacular.
They were a great pair. I love the two of them together. I wish they had done more stuff together. They got along, they had a great relationship. Apparently, they really did enjoy each other.
Odd, because you wouldn't think that, knowing Dad as we do, maybe we don't. Maybe he's got a secret life.
Hey, they're just two guys from the Brooklyn neighborhood, man.
Yeah. But I would not have predicted that he and Jimmy would have enjoyed each other's company as much as
I guess I wouldn't have either. I mean, Jimmy's got that macho sports thing going on, and that's not necessarily Dad's speed, but you can't. Brooklyn is a small community of people. Yeah,
and they had a great time together. But Dad also can have that effect on people. Like there's the great time that The Rock looked at Dad and said, hey, you're in really good shape. Do you work out?
Yeah, what do you do? Yeah.
A crazy story. So here's to James Caan, for whom I have nothing to add.
Jimmy Caan.
Pretty amazing. And I guess the other news that we have to share is that people who are fans of the show, all of you that we can fit in a teacup, but know that we have these new spectacular producers, and one of them, Sophia Rosinski, is starring in a new show that's about to drop on Amazon.
Yes,
in a very short time, called Paper Girls, and the trailer is up there to watch now, and it's a thing to behold. It looks very exciting.
The clips I've seen look fantastic. It's right up my alley. Can't wait to see the show. And it's like days away. Like, right? It's coming.
And I have to say, for knowing Sophia now and having spent time with her, typecasting for her, when you watch this show, you will feel like Sophia. Absolutely.
July 29th.
That's a lie.
That's when the show. That's when the show.
It's completely a lie that I just told.
Well, she's not playing someone like her.
No, she's playing a mean person.
Well, I can't wait to see it. July 29th. Check it out.
But Sophia is the sweetest. So, coming out July 29th, Amazon Prime. You're going to love it. And that's our show.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Roll theme song.
No, it's not the show. We have to talk about the movie.
We have the whole raisins de trois that we are here.
Yeah. But before we get into talking about the movie proper, I want to talk a little bit about why we, what your relationship is to this movie and to movies about brothers. Like, what is it that brings you to making a movie about brothers?
You're asking me as if I were Richard Linklater. I'm not. I didn't make a movie about brothers. But if you're asking me why I chose this movie, because I did.
Yeah,
it's because of Richard Linklater and the brothers thing, obviously, because we're doing a brothers run. But
right,
I'd never seen it. And, I want to be a Richard Linklater completist because, he's an incredible filmmaker and I wanted to see it.
And who is Richard Linklater?
Is this a serious question that you're asking me right now?
No, it's not.
Yeah, you all know who Richard Linklater is,
Well, there might be people out there who don't. Why don't you fill some of them in a little bit?
Well, Richard Linklater is
Talk about his oeuvre.
He's that's private. I don't think he'd like me talking about that.
On the air.
He's a writer, director, filmmaker from Texas. You know his stuff. He did his first movie was Slacker, which made a huge impression on me back in the day. That was that was like 1990. And he did, of course, very famously Boyhood and Dazed and Confused and Scanner Darkly and Suburbia. Of course, the Before Sunrise trilogy too. A ton of stuff. Very, very interesting American filmmaker. A true artist and a teacher. Also, he teaches, I believe, in Texas. He's a film professor. Austin based, I think. That's what I know. I know he's a gem to work with. I have friends who've worked with him and say he's great, actor friendly, very writerly, but not academic in his vibe. He's from Houston. He's from Houston, Texas. I thought he was from Austin, but he has an Austin connection. I know that much. Richard Linklater. Yeah, he's great. Dazed and Confused, man.
All right.
Basically, McConaughey's start. Where do you fall with this? I know that you probably, you know these movies, but you'd probably be more interesting to ask, like, how are you with McConaughey? How do you feel about his level of stardom and how he came up? And did you see this movie at the time? And did you care?
I did not see this movie at the time, and I didn't care. And I'm not, I have to say, not familiar with Linklater's work before this.
School of Rock, you saw that probably.
I did not see School of Rock.
You didn't see School
This,
of Rock?
for instance, is only 10 smackers.
Yeah, that's a rough one. You just really surprised me there.
That's what I get for not seeing School of Rock.
You did see Dazed and Confused, didn't you?
I have not seen Dazed and Confused.
What?
Yeah.
You got it. You okay. You have to switch that up. You really need to switch that one up, because that's like that's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, you know what's exciting is that when Batch 22 starts selling, all I'm going to do is watch movies, because I'll just be able to sit at home and in my.
You'll be too drunk to do anything else, probably.
I wanted y'all to have a drink on him.
There you go. Yes, absolutely.
So Linklater's he's a very important American filmmaker. His stuff is great. And this is kind of a little off the narrative for him. This is not what he's typically kind of known for. This kind of
we
movie.
should let people know a little bit about what this movie is. The Newton Boys is a story. A movie based on a true story about four brothers who went on a very long and very successful bank robbing spree. Well, successful until it wasn't. Bank robbing spree, and also robbed a train. And it was the four brothers and one other cohort, a friend of theirs,
Mr. Glasscock.
Mr. Glasscock? Yes.
Am I reading that right? Excuse me. I don't have my glasses. Glasscock. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
It is correct.
Please proceed.
And it is pretty much a very true story. And these guys didn't like violence. Like, they didn't want to shoot people and kill people. They just wanted to rob banks. And they thought of themselves not as Robin Hood.
I'd just like to phrase that differently. Let's say they didn't mind violence, but they, like, in a way, this level of violence that they were perfectly fine with.
They never killed it. Nobody ever died.
But something doesn't have to be violent for somebody to die.
Yeah, but only one guy got shot.
there's an awful lot of shotguns going off for people
lot
that don't like violence at all.
They
They're not pacifists. I think that
No,
would give the
but
wrong
they
impression.
weren't Bonnie and Clyde, who just randomly went into places.
They
and
weren't. They weren't psychotic murderers.
No, they were robbing. They felt that the banks were crooks and that they had been done wrong. They'd been, and they weren't stealing anybody's money. They were stealing the bank's money, and the
Which was
bank
insured and all that. Yeah,
and the
are just little thieves stealing from the big thieves.
that was always my excuse.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually, I think, quite a fascinating story.
Did you see Boyhood? Did you see any of his movies other than this one? You are the only.
Wait a minute, hold on. Was Boyhood the one that went on like the
Yes,
following the whole
37 years they took them to film
37
it.
years? Yes, I did see that.
Okay, so you did see that. So good. Just that Newton Boys would be an odd place to start your link letter journey. So I'm glad it didn't start here.
It didn't start there. I did see Boyhood.
Okay, so it's a true story. Texas brothers, cowboy dudes, kind of fun guys, and
they stole from Texas up to Canada.
They stole everything all over the place.
South, hit some of the deep South along. They were
They had fun. They had a good, kind of good old boy attitude. Didn't take things too serious. Although McConaughey took things pretty seriously. This guy tried to be an oil man.
Right.
Kind of called himself an oil man and always talked about getting out of the robbery game, and then he never really did. The Newton Boys.
There's Matthew McConaughey as Willis Newton, Ethan Hawke as Jess Newton. We've got Skeet Ulrich as Joe Newton, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Doc Newton. Those are the four brothers.
Yeah.
Dwight Yoakam, believe it or not, as Brentwood Glasscock.
Yeah.
Spelled the way you would think it would be.
We are Julianna Margulies.
Julianna Margulies as Louise Brown. Bo Hopkins. Oh my gosh. As KP Aldrich.
Be still my heart.
The lawman, the Fed, who's after him. And Chloe Webb, who I also just adored, as Avis Glasscock. Mr. Glasscock's wife. Charles Gunning as
the guy from another movie. Look at this picture.
Yeah, but wonderful. I loved him. And Luke Askew.
Amazing. Luke Askew.
Luke Askew is fantastic in this. It's the true story of the most successful bank robbers in the history of the United States. And something about, in terms of their violence and stuff, that we should say is that they didn't rob during the day. They went in at night usually and blew the safes. Using nitroglycerin. They blew the doors off the safes in the middle of the night and made off with the money.
Right, because they actually really kind of were violence averse. They didn't want to kill anybody. They knew that, you ran the risk your jail time would go up so considerably too. It was much more risky. And then they even had, trepidation getting involved in the federal level in terms of federal crimes, because they were really trying to play it safe.
Yeah, and I know that's why I don't kill people, is the jail time.
Well, it's a consideration. Yeah. I'm just trying to be technically honest. That's all. Why be dishonest?
Right. Exactly.
So,
I stop myself. I go, oh no, there's jail. I better.
So you didn't answer. You avoided my question about Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. I think I would really love to see what his political career turns out to be, because I think he would be good for Texas. I really do.
Okay.
You ain't gonna get enough all of that. Hold up. Part your hair. And it goes for all of you. Every one of you lazy sons of bitches is fired.
We're broke, Jess.
All right, here. I'll talk about Matthew McConaughey. You still want me to talk about Matthew McConaughey? My political career ruse didn't work. I can see. Let me put it this way. I have seen a lot of Matthew McConaughey's more recent work and have great admiration for it. His earlier work, I would not have expected that to happen for me. But actually, so that would throw him in a class of actor for whom I actually have tremendous respect, who are the people who, when I see them in their early career and I don't think they're any good, but they achieve great stardom, as he did, and then they become good. I think that's hard to do. And I sort of respect those people more than I respect people who were just great from the beginning, because
That's a really cool point.
because he had this tremendous stardom, and I didn't think he was good, and I didn't like his career choices.
Hey, you're looking sharp.
And then slowly I started to see him really develop a craft and deepen his internal work, it seemed, and become more and more nuanced and interesting to watch.
It feels like the early work was for the ladies, and the later work was for the dudes like us.
Yes. Yeah. So, Matthew, if you're listening, I'm sure you're a fan of the show. Just, forgive my criticism of your early work, and know that I have nothing but respect for you now.
I think that's a really
And
valid.
I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure he doesn't care.
I'm sure he cares deeply. I think if he was listening, he'd be riveted to this conversation. Perhaps angrily so.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, fan of the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not, I feel this is fairly safe. He doesn't seem to be directing things, hiring actors, so I think you're safe.
Okay.
But
I ain't afraid of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And that's true. I believe that's true, because I watch him now and I feel like he does the work.
Oh, for real. Yeah, for real. It's funny you say this, because I think that's actually really true what you said. I think it's kind of a cool thing to see people who are in the business so long that they actually develop into great, kind of artists as they age. If they start when they're like in their early 20s or in their teens. Very few people have that kind of gravitas very early, so they're relying on charm, and which he had. Let's face it. I mean, he's incredibly charming, and I think
What's fun to do in Omaha?
Well, you could chew gum.
I would, I would go on a date if he asked me. It's a pretty convincing guy.
Yeah.
Great movie star chops. See, like that's the thing. He had the movie star kind of chops very early, and then he kind of aged into kind of great acting. But I think, I feel similarly about Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke has gone on to be, I think, a great film actor. I mean, just great. I love his performances. Now, I think, I will actually watch stuff just because he's in it, which is kind of rare for me. I didn't always feel that way, but when I didn't, it was pure jealousy. So I'm going to be completely honest about that. I clouded in my judgment to the rage of jealousy.
You know whose work I wasn't really familiar with from this film, and who I really liked in it, was Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich definitely is a better actor than he got credit for. Yes.
Yeah.
I
like
like
him in
him.
a lot of things, but I watched this movie and I just thought, wow, it's really good to see him, and he's an interesting guy. He had an interesting life.
I hope he's still having one. Nothing happened to him.
He is still having one, and still working a lot, but had apparently like just terrible health problems as a child. And as a young man, but I thought he was terrific in this, and I thought in some ways the most interesting character in the movie, the one with the most interesting conflict in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, look, maybe we haven't really like gone into this yet, but maybe really the biggest complaint is that I didn't feel it was about brothers somehow. It didn't connect in a brother way to me.
Okay, now we're going to get into it. Yeah. I thought this is an incredibly fascinating story, terribly told.
Wow. Terribly told.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't the best part of the movie to me was the footage of the real guys during the end credits.
I just find it so interesting that you felt trepidations about criticizing Matthew McConaughey's work, but Richard Linklater's work you're willing to throw under a bus, and that dude could hire you. So you play a dangerous game.
Nobody's gonna hire me.
Dangerous podcasting game, sir.
Yes. I don't know that it was Mr. Linklater's. Did he write the movie as well?
Yes, it was his baby. In fact,
it's my fault. Then my career's over, or my career with Mr. Linklater is over.
Well, he's not going to make a 15-year movie about you.
No,
that's for sure.
Yeah. But you said it. It didn't examine. To me, I felt like stylistically, they were making the Sting, and it didn't work for me that way. The Hollywood montage of their hilarious hijinks through the big list of banks that went on, I wanted to see the relationships between these brothers and what it was that bound them together in this life. And I just didn't I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. I wasn't I didn't get pulled into anybody's conflict in a real way. And the romance between Julianna Margulies and Matthew McConaughey did not work for me.
Yeah, that's not the strongest part of it for me. Although, I'm gonna go shy of saying it was terribly told. I think it was kind of cool at that time. I think for 98, for Linklater to kind of go for that Sting vibe, which wasn't very popular at the time, and I just kind of liked the lightheartedness of it. I enjoyed that approach to it. And the fact that all the brothers, spoiler alert, because you can actually look this up, they made it. They most of them lived into their ripe old age, and did their time and had a life. So
yeah,
it's not a heavy crushing story because it doesn't really end that way. And they are kind of charming guys, all of them in one way or another, except D'Onofrio's not really charming. I don't think that he was going for that in this, but the rest of them certainly are. So I don't know. I liked enough about it. I was warm enough on it to not think it was terribly told, but the things you're talking about, I don't think are its strong suit. I didn't feel like those characters as a brother story went past the kind of a surface level. And I am a brother. I have brothers, right? I know what that's all that trip is about. I've
heard that about you.
And I didn't totally get the brother thing. But
and there's actually 4 brothers in this family. There's Adam and you and me and Jed Wakefield. Right. And there's 4 of us. We could go on a spree like this.
Well, now it's going to be rough that you've announced it.
Okay.
But
all right.
You idiot! You shot Doc!
This is how it would go for us. I'm telling you.
How it would go for us on the first job.
Right out of the gate at the practice run. Job. What are you practicing for the job? We'd go like that. Yeah.
I wish I had sent this. We could pull it up. Is the photograph of you and me and Adam at the beach falling down on the rock?
Yeah, that was kind of similar to that. We just had a gunshot sound to it.
Week.
Yeah. The stylistic choices, I know Linklater's like playing with classic movie moves and he's I really admire the kind of elegant, spare, classic Hollywood way this movie's put together. I think it's very well edited. There may be sections of it that I don't know if they belonged, like the montage. Agree, didn't totally happen for me, but the there's also some extremely good work and extremely good production design. The production designer, Catherine Hardwicke, has an incredible career because she went on to be a very well-known director of movies like 13 and Lords of Dogtown and Twilight. But she also production designed great things like Tapeheads, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, Brain Dead, Tombstone, Three Kings, Vanilla Sky. She was a big deal production designer too. It's really elegant work. It's beautiful, photography by Peter James, who, did other things that are surprising, like Driving Miss Daisy and 27 Dresses.
Wow. Your favorite movie?
My favorite movie.
The movie that almost ended our relationship.
It came close. You pushed it. You hurt me. You aimed to hurt me, and you did.
Go back for listeners who haven't heard that episode. Go back and listen to the 27 Dresses episode. And Tony and I came as close to fisticuffs as you can come.
It was rough.
Transcontinentally.
But you didn't. You couldn't even really support it. But
No.
The photography isn't what we didn't like about it. There's also chock full of great character actors and performances in here, which I think are really great pleasure.
I loved all of that. I just wanted more grit, and to your point about the production design, I thought the production design was brilliant in terms of the movie that they decided to make. I wanted to see a little more of what that world might. I wanted to see a little bit of the soot on everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But he's making a Howard Hawks movie. He's making a John Ford movie. It's like I don't know if that's he wanted a 70s movie. He was making a classic Red River kind of movie, or classic My Darling Clementine, kind of vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I don't think this thing totally is 100% successful, but I really did appreciate the I like Linklater's. He's kind of sneaky, he really gets some lyricism in there. His movies are lived in. They're a little bit shaggy, they're a little bit rambly. But he really sticks to his vision and his plan, and he's quietly got a really nice aesthetic vibe too, which he doesn't showboat as a director, which I really admire. I think that's the thing I admire about him most, is that he's not he never over directs. He's very spare. He lets the actors be up front. The camera work is simple. It's all in service of the storytelling, and then there's little beautiful little moments when he says this thing's going to be 1 million. We're going to get $1 million out of this deal. And Skeet Ulrich goes, how much is it? 1 million. And he goes, that's one with that many zeros. And they cut to a close up of the chamber of his 6-shooter.
Yeah,
and
it's in my notes. $1 million is the one with that many zeros, and he spins
it in real close up.
And that sort of pulling in the violence and what we have to do to get the $1 million. I just thought that was brilliant.
Money and violence all tied into that one shot, and it's very Ann B. Coates kind of editing. And we're told here budget 27 million, box office 10 million. Sad. That is too bad. I don't
know a lot about business. Even in this company I'm starting, I'm not the business guy. I'm the logistics guy. I move product. I get deal with the trucking. $27 million to make the movie, 10 million at the box office. That's a
loss.
That's bad.
That's a loss of money. Well, the filmmakers experienced, they lost money on the movie.
The actors still got paid though, right? They all got paid.
Yes, unless they were paid in points, which were hit at certain, caps.
Gotcha.
It depends on how they're
But
paid.
they still had to be like paid at least union minimum wage.
Skeet Ulrich got a 3 square meals a day and a place to stay. What are you worried
That's
about?
all I really care.
Are you like a union rep here all of a sudden?
I just want to make sure my actors are taken care of.
Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, $4 million.
Ouch.
Okay.
I say ouch to that.
I say ouch because that's a lot of stars packed into a movie that didn't do great.
Yeah. I do have to say, to your point about Linklater being an actor's director, and I did feel that watching it. I felt that it looked like all of the actors were having a good time, that they felt relaxed and free to make their choices and do their work. It didn't feel like a movie that was where the actors were directed within an inch of their lives.
Yeah, no.
And that was nice.
And it felt like they were able to rehearse the scenes kind of as actors would, rather than be crammed into, directors, visual concepts. They seemed like lived in. Lived in their costumes, on the horses. It had a kind of that's where I felt there was a little bit of grittiness to it, was that it had an old-fashioned, the way that movies used to feel, westerns used to feel, where the actors just felt like, oh, they could ride horses, they could handle guns, it was really no issue. They kind of captured that, because a lot of this was happening in wide shots. It was not covered in a lot of close-ups.
Yep.
There's a lot of medium and wide shots in this movie where they have to do all this stuff, in one. And they handled themselves really well. They clearly rehearsed all that stuff well. Also, some really good, moments of dialogue. Some really notable things for me. Do you have any other lines that you like?
You're a big lover! My God, I'm in love with you!
Maybe not my favorite line.
That was problematic for me, that scene.
That was from As Good as It Gets, wasn't it? Wait, no, that was from a Nora Ephron movie.
Yeah. Another moment that I had a problem with is when Matthew McConaughey's character starts coming up with his brilliant ideas about planning as if they're brilliant. He's like, you know what we'll do? We'll case the joints beforehand, and we'll look at the timing of when people are coming and go. I'm like, that's your brilliant plan? And it was. He's presenting it like he's some genius.
Okay. I could argue that might be on purpose. Maybe.
2 moments of dialogue that I absolutely adored.
Yeah.
How was the war? It was all right. How was prison? Glad to be out.
So good. That's in my notes. Absolutely great.
The prison was worse than the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 brothers getting back together again. One was from prison. One was fighting World War I. And the guy in prison had the short end of the stick. Me personally, I might take prison over combat.
I love a line where this starts a little early, where Skeet Ulrich is like, we're only 35 minutes in, and like they've done one robbery, and Skeet goes, when do we get out? When does it end?
Yeah.
Like, didn't we just started robbing banks? Take it easy.
That I was like, come on.
But
Somebody catch these men that just robbed the bank!
Don't make me come up there! You're mean, you know that?
But my absolute favorite line in the entire movie is when, what the hell you looking at, Betty Crocker Peckerhead?
That was good. In order to tell you my favorite line, we're gonna have to actually kind of talk about something for like 3 minutes, because I have something in this movie that I fell completely in love with, and don't really know what to do with myself.
I'm in love with a man and I don't even know his name.
I didn't want it to happen this way on a show with you particularly, but it's happening.
Well, you know what? People are very accepting these days. I think you should feel free to say whatever it is you have.
I love Dwight Yoakam.
Oh,
I love him. I have strong feelings for him, and I don't know what to do about it. Because he's, to me, like there's a lot of good actors in this movie. There's a lot of people that have been studying acting and acting in movies. Like that's all they do for a really long time. And I feel like Dwight Yoakam shows up, getting off of its country western stage, and like blows everything away. I just think he's great. Am I alone here?
No, I have to say I completely agree.
Okay.
I thought he was
next level,
and I wanted to see him. I want to see him starring in more
everything.
movies.
I just give him a TV series, please. He's so understated. He's so fun to watch, and what he goes through is so traumatic. Like that's the heaviness of this movie. He goes through something that's really, really rough. And
I wanted to see that examined so much more. He shoots.
Well,
one of his partners
by accident, and it's not funny. It's not fun.
45.
It's not played for jokes.
With a 45, and it's not played for jokes.
And he feels really bad about it, and it's just he captures that shame.
You feel bad?
Oh yeah, but I mean the way that Yoakam caught, just displayed and caught that shame vibe. It was gorgeous. He's incredible.
He was spectacular
and so funny. So anyway, my favorite line is his, and it's early in the movie. They're riding horses away from their first botched robbery attempt of a bank, and people start shooting at them by surprise. Not something they expected to happen. And Dwight Yoakam says, "Why is this happening, Slim?" It's like so right on.
I do want to say, just letting people know, in terms of the true story, that actually happened during the train robbery. The brothers were going to be wearing white cowboy hats so that they'd know who they were. And apparently one of the brothers was on the other side of the train and took off the hat to wipe his brow or something like that. And this fifth guy shot him 5 times with a 45 caliber gun. First of all, that's kind of amazing that he hit him 5 times
in that dark time in the night.
People can't shoot like that. Hit him 5 times, but then the guy survived.
Yeah.
And lived, I think, to 83 years.
Yeah, he was fine. He didn't live. He got out of jail. He's fine.
Yeah.
There's some tough. Those Texan boys, those cowboys are tough.
Leads into one of my favorite shots in the movie, the mug shots.
They're great. Yeah. They look so authentic, don't they?
They look so authentic, but there's mug shots that are all just regular mug shots, and then Vincent D'Onofrio with the rag wrapped around his head because he'd been shot in the face.
That was very "Oh brother, where art thou?"
Yeah,
to me.
So.
There was some Sly Cohen brothery kind of stuff in here. That's an interesting way to think of this movie. It's kind of like a Coen Brothers movie without the really dark, black-hearted satire.
Yeah,
But
that's where in some ways it lost me, was that I'm happy to go along for a jaunt. If I feel like it just didn't feel like there was anything underneath it for me.
I gotcha. I mean, yeah, I feel like in a weird way, I don't know. I think it kind of is aiming to be that kind of movie. Like Linklater, he kind of makes hangout movies, that's kind of, I guess, what he's been accused of making, or his fans say. Stephen Jules Rubin says he totally agrees with me. Thank you, Stephen Jules. Thank you, Jules.
You won the podcast.
I win Podcast Town. I was so excited to hear that somebody agreed with me. I don't even know what I was saying now. I'm just gonna gloat. Now I'm just gonna gloat. No, that he kind of makes hangout movies. It's like movies that are caper movies like this are usually a little shorter than this. Is 2 hours, yes. And it just stretches out, and you kind of get to hang out, hang around, and see the countryside a little bit. And that's, I think some people want to get the motor revving a little faster. Some audiences just want Linklater to kind of giddy up, let's go. But it's not really his style. It's kind of his thing in a way. So knowing that about him, maybe I was prepared for that part of this. If I hadn't known that, this is a weird place to start with Linklater, because he's a pretty important artist, but his movies are so kind of chill. You know, you don't really recognize that he's after something creatively that's very specific all the time. And this is kind of an outlier. Like, I'm trying to remember if he ever made anything really like this again. I don't think he did. Like,
didn't he direct The Sisters Rosenzweig? Oh no, wait a minute.
No.
I ain't done nothing.
I didn't do anything to you. No, he's not known for, you know, big actiony kind of like movies like these. There's a lot of talking and rambling in his movies and hanging out. So it's kind of like watching somebody going out of his comfort zone in a way to make this kind of a movie too.
Right.
And, you know, for film nerds, it really shows up how much he's really studied in terms of classic, you know, 30s, 40s style Hollywood filmmaking. He's really doing a good job of doing that, but it's kind of a lukewarm film in some ways, you know.
Do we know anything about Chloe Webb? I don't really know much about her and her work, and she knocked me out.
Well, I know her from Sid and Nancy, because I was a fan of Sid and Nancy's, and she plays Nancy Spungen in that movie.
Okay.
And she had and has had a pretty big reputation at that time, but I don't know if I've seen her in a lot of other things.
And I thought that character was really interesting.
Great, yeah. It's kind of a little bit of an Amanda Plummer. Like, Amanda Plummer could have played that part too.
Definitely that vibe. And Julianna Margulies, who I really like as an actor, but I didn't get, like, what was this woman's story that she got caught up?
No idea
in this.
I don't really understand that.
There's a hint at it in that the guy who's interested in her and who she sort of, it's hinted that she has a relationship, is this boring, older, unattractive, successful businessman, and that maybe they were saying, maybe Linklater is saying, well, at the time, though, that was her option other than being a cigar girl at the hotel, because she had a kid, right?
Yeah.
She was responsible and had to earn a living, and that's what she was involved with in order to try and be responsible. And then this dashing guy comes along and sweeps her off her feet. But I didn't see the conflict for her there.
You know what, you may be onto something. That could be, you could really actually have nailed to me what might be the missing ingredient. Maybe her character is a little underwritten, or maybe they cut some stuff about her. I don't know.
And what's interesting is that in real life, she waited for him for 4 years while he was in prison, and they stayed together until her death, which wasn't until the 80s, I don't think.
That's a lot of that's true, and what isn't true, I don't know.
Yeah. And in some ways, what is so fascinating to me about this story is what happened afterwards. Well,
the studio's not going to give you money to make a movie about 4 old brothers who crotch it around in Texas. They're just not going to do that. They'll be like, did they have any exciting times when they were young? And you'd be like, well, they robbed banks and shit. But and they're like, why don't you make that movie? That's exciting.
Yeah, what about Hey Hey in the Hayloft? Hands in Your Pants in 1933 with a little sex in it.
Exactly. Exactly. There were touches throughout the movie I really love.
That's actually the movie he wanted to make. I want to see the scene where he's pitching that movie.
Right.
And they won't let him. In
a lot of ways, I'm surprised Linklater, he might even. I could see him actually. It's a much more Linklater movie to do that kind of movie of like where they were in the 1970s
Well, what he
after
should
all
have done
this.
is started shooting the movie when they were robbing banks, and then followed them until they were in their 80s, and then edited that all together into one movie.
Well, now you're saying what Linklater should have done, and I feel kind of creepy about that. He's just too important a filmmaker, and he's alive.
but
He's living.
But he did that. He did that with About a Boy.
That's not his film.
Not
though,
Boyhood.
which would, if he had made that.
Boyhood. He did it with Boyhood, 37 years in the making. Why didn't he do the same thing with this?
You got a good point. You got me there. I'm stymied. I'm completely stymied. I do want to talk about, like, there's several things that I just love that are in there. The Native American billionaire oil man that buys the bar that they're drinking in, or that bought the bar, is just fantastic.
That is,
I love that.
And I want to know if that's a true thing. I'll bet it is.
I bet it is. I bet it is. It's Linklater's kind of thing to
put a true thing. I want to go drink in that bar.
Me too.
Yeah.
I do.
You got to hold on one second. Starting this
Can you repeat that? Sorry, sir. What was that? Oh, you just disappeared. Oh, this is great. Matthew just disappeared and left me hanging.
We got a job to do here.
We do have a job to do. We have a job. We had a job. But we're having some technical difficulties now. For those of you listening at home, Matthew is frozen. His computer is completely frozen.
There's an easy way to do this and a hard way. As long as I'm leader of this outfit, we're going to do it my way.
Well, I hope we're not going to do it Matthew's way. Who's talking there? Because Matthew's way has left us with zero show. Well, this is really too bad. If any of the producers... Oh, there he is. No, it's just me. If any of the producers want to jump on here for a second, and we can confab about what to do in a situation like this, that would be cool. Or I get to... Hey, Sophia.
Hello. Sorry, I have
Hello.
a bunch of stuff on my face.
No, I'm sorry to startle you with this, but my co-host disappeared, as you probably just saw. And I'm wondering if you have any brilliant ideas of what we might do about that.
I am writing him right now. It may be an internet connection issue on his
No
end.
doubt.
Well,
No doubt it
I
is.
forgot to plug my computer in and was running on battery. It's plugged in now and I'm coming back. Okay, great.
Okay, excellent. How are we doing so far? Well, she's not going to answer me.
You guys are doing great.
We're doing good? Okay, great.
Yes, loving it.
Are you surprised that he didn't know anything about Richard Linklater?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit? Yeah, okay, me too. Me too. I'm glad you can be honest. Alexis?
Hey, really quickly, I just found something online. It said Doc Newton made a bungled attempt to rob a bank in his mid-70s.
This is fantastic news. Yeah, Doc Newton, played by Vincent D'Onofrio in this movie. Yeah. He tried to rob a bank when he was in his 70s, like 40 years later.
It says in 1968 in Rowena, Texas, and because of his age, he was turned loose. And then he died at the age of 83.
Oh, my God. And he's the guy that was shot 5 times by a 45. That's incredible. Yeah. That's it. Why did he suddenly resort to crime again in his 70s? What happened?
That's an interesting question. Online, it just says old habits die hard.
Right.
I don't know specifically.
And his nickname was Old Habits. I guess that's what they were referring to. So do you feel like my brother's going to make it back on the show?
I think so. Sophia, you said that he had to plug in his computer?
Right. He says he's almost there, and he's telling us to keep Anthony company.
This ain't going to be no Toronto, Joe.
I think that plugging in your computer has been a crucial element for me from the beginning of this podcast. I'm very glad that we got to the bottom of what happened. Yes. Fascinating. Anyway, it's weird being left alone.
This here's my business associate.
About one other thing. Hey!
What did I miss?
Well, just part of the show. It's fine.
That's what I was saying when I cut out. Was I just noticed the battery warning that and I was going to say,
I see.
hey, hold on a second, I have to go plug the computer in, and then it died, and I'm mortified and embarrassed.
That's quite all right. These things happen.
Did anything interesting happen while I was gone? Probably the best part of the show.
Well, we just went through our worst experience, and Jules just said the nicest thing. He says he loves us, which makes me feel great because we were having some trouble there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen Jules. Love you too, man. We just heard this from the producers that there's still $100,000 missing that the Newton brothers like buried somewhere in the desert and lost and never found. Yeah. So maybe we can do that this summer.
That
go look for that.
I've got time.
How was the war? It's all right. So okay, I love love Dwight Yoakam. I just want him to be in everything. But Bo Hopkins forever.
Oh my God.
Bo Hopkins. If you all don't know who Bo Hopkins is, you can be forgiven because he's a character actor, from another time. But this guy, from Andy Griffith's show Gunsmoke, The Virginian, Bonanza, to The Wild Bunch and American Graffiti and The Getaway and The Killer Elite. I mean, come on. He's the best unhinged killer cowboy in American film history in his stuff. He's just great.
Out of the park.
Wild Bunch, man. The Wild Bunch. And seeing him come back and seeing a director who knows like the importance of these actors is really great. Like him and Luke Askew or Askew. I don't know how you pronounce that. Askew is really good.
He's terrific. I was going to ask you how you pronounced Askew.
I'm going to say Luke Askew.
I think it's Askew. I knew somebody with that name and they pronounced it Askew. But I was going to
Luke Askew is much more punk rock.
Yeah,
it's up to him. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with him.
So, okay, look, we seem to have similarly mixed feelings, but warm enough. I'm not unhappy. You're not unhappy you saw this, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay,
not at all. And as so often happens, and I'm gonna have to like compute this somehow. Which is that so often I enjoy a movie more in retrospect when I'm talking about it with you than I did when I was watching it. And I'm not sure I understand that phenomenon.
My hypnotic powers are at an all-time high.
Yes, there you go.
Sophia Red Shoes says, can we review The Wild Bunch? We certainly can review The Wild Bunch at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. It'll be a little bit because we got a lot of brothers movies to get through, but we will do The Wild Bunch. I would love to do that.
We could do a spate of some westerns, and then we
should.
Could also, somebody suggested that we do a spate of some old war movies.
That's a great idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of really good old war movies that are underseen.
Yeah.
Like not the typical Green Berets crap, but different stuff. Yeah. Question.
So, yes.
Do you know who we are in this movie? And Mickey Solis says, great cast. It is, Mickey. It's a great cast.
It is. It's a spectacular.
It's pretty stunning.
Who we are in this movie.
You didn't think about it.
This was the thing. The problem with the swimming pool and the day and the bottling and
note to producers.
Everybody in Toronto saw us well, we sure didn't see you.
Next thing you have to do is every week you have to come up with what Matthew thinks we are, who we are in the movie.
No. They just said no to me. Wow.
No, you have to do it.
All right. Who do you think we are?
Oh, I know for sure that we are the Chicago cops that bust McConaughey in the hotel room. I am the guy in the uniform who beats him, and you're the plainclothes cop who's like, yeah, we know what your story is. and then they take the bribe and get busted. That's us.
Yeah, get lost. Nice doing business with you, candy boy. Let's have it. You're in a lot of trouble. You're coming with me.
There it is. That's our scene.
So you got the good line. You get the good line. You're in a lot of trouble, candy boy.
I do. I did get the good line.
Yeah,
you know why? Because I remembered to do this bit on the show, so I take the good line.
What's the double feature?
You know, I thought about it.
Why don't y'all relax?
You know, I thought it's really a toss-up to me between Bonnie and Clyde and Darling Clementine, because Bonnie and Clyde would be a great one to actually see, because it's the time period. They're riffing on some of that here, but there's no brother stuff.
Okay, I stuck with the brothers theme.
Yeah. And
People
went
soup.
with
People Soup.
Everybody wants a nice little short film before their Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
For people who don't know, People Soup is a movie, a short film,
right,
written and directed by our dad, with me and Adam, the third of the Arkin brothers.
Right, and we're reminded Gene Hackman and Beatty are brothers in the movie, so there are brothers at Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
they are. Okay,
so Bonnie and Clyde, that would be good.
All right,
good.
Bonnie and Clyde, you win.
So what would be your ideal way to see the Newton Boys? What's your ideal viewing experience? What's the perfect way?
I would actually want to see this movie locked in a safe or a vault.
Okay, you mean like the movie theater is inside a vault?
I'm like locked in a vault with an iPad watching this movie.
That's odd, but I like it. You and Elon Musk, I think, had the same answer to that. I would say that that for me, I say the best way for this movie to exist is kind of like on a screen in the background of a steakhouse after hours, or when you're playing poker around a table. It just seems like that's the way to experience it.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of a hangout movie that you're hanging out playing cards with, and something that this movie did so well for me was capture. It evoked images that just got me crazy about like 1920s, the vibe, the music, the streets, how clean they were, just some of the effect shots, like the way they depicted those steakhouses and speakeasies and stuff was pretty hot. I really got to say I like that, and it made me want to go have a steak in some Kansas City bar. You know, it really did. And I think that's the sign of a good movie, that it can actually make you want to go out and experience some of the things that you saw in it, you know? So yeah, that's what I think.
The magic words to me: a steak in a Kansas City bar.
This would be a great way to see this movie.
Yeah. You're very good at this. You're very good at coming up with the ways to see the movie.
Oh, I just Googled it. I Googled what's the best way to see the movie, and they told me. Which means it's scientifically true. It's the best way.
Okay. The trivia about this movie, actually, that I was able to discover, is that there is no good trivia about this movie.
You know, there's not a hell of a lot of.
There is some trivia, but none of it was interesting.
No,
to me.
it's like the trivia was based on a real thing.
Yeah, one of the big trivia items is that the guy who actually arrested them was the brother of the guy who portrayed in the movie.
That was great. That was great.
I love that actor too. That guy,
was great.
I'm not getting his name, but he was very funny.
Great gag with the safety pin, not the safety pin. The what is it? The toothpick.
Toothpick. Yes.
Nice gag.
You could use a safety pin as a toothpick.
That was in the Sid and Nancy movie.
Right. There you go. Okay.
Chloe Webb, another Chloe Webb movie.
There you go.
Oh, you know what else I love in this movie?
What?
Is the foreman of the oil rig that gets in the screaming match with McConaughey. He was great. You know, he was the real thing. He wasn't an actor, that guy. I think he was just a guy that Linkletter was like, hey.
No, I think that's McConaughey's brother.
So like I said, not an actor.
Oh, there you go. Right. Okay. Very well played, sir. Very well played.
Rooster McConaughey played the tool pusher there.
Yeah. So we're going to continue this string of brothers movies. We'll give you the whole lineup. Next week is going to be The Game, starring Sean Penn and Michael Douglas. Following that, Four Brothers. And following that, one of just a wonderful movie about two, just a heartfelt, lovely relationship, Dead Ringers. And
very touching.
Yeah, that will round out. Well, there is a lot of touching in the movie, I will say that. That will round out July's run of Punching Brothers. And then in May, for Touching Brothers, we're doing Step Brothers, Rain Man, Darjeeling Express, and
Limited.
Darjeeling Express Limited. That's the sequel to the sequel to Darjeeling Express. And then we're ending it all with Coupe de Ville. And we may have a special guest at that.
We are definitely angling for a special guest on
special
that show.
Guest, if we can coax him out of his shell.
No pun intended.
What?
Deep cut. You'll know. You'll laugh when this is over. You'll realize what I just did. But this is a complete mystery to the audience.
And I don't get it. Am I supposed to get that, or are you going to have to explain it to me?
It is a character name. Shell. Just so you...
I'm in love with a man, and I don't even know his name.
I know its name. It's Dwight Yoakam. It's Dwight Yoakam, ladies and gentlemen.
Yoakam, yeah. So join us next week, if you would, please, for The Game. And
David Fincher.
And I'm not sure if I take us out of this, or I think our producers need to take us out.
I certainly don't know how to do that. I've never been given the keys to that car.
Never been given the keys to the kingdom. So
we're talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win and